Alright, so today it's going to be a podcast, not so much a video. So there won't be any accompanying video to go along with it, except for maybe a picture of my stupid, ugly face. But you can either hear this on the podcast, or you can check it out on the YouTube channel. So I just wanted to make that clear that there is no video version of today's podcast. It'll be just a podcast on the channel. So, what I was thinking about today was when I was having kind of a disagreement or an argument with my son. It's just that a lot of the times, a lot of the stuff that we kind of just really, the thing that really irks us about our kids, you know, the thing they do that really just, gets under your skin the most, is almost always something you taught them through your own example. So, and I have this problem, okay? The most annoying things that my kids do is things they have seen me do, either with their mom or with them, where I'm not so much a naysayer, but I will kind of play devil's advocate sometimes. If someone tells me something, I have to think of what is the opposite perspective of this, so I'm not necessarily always trying to naysay, but I have to bring up a different version. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to put down what they're saying, but I opt to say something about it, and this is something I should really work on. I should really get all this stuff out in the podcast or in my YouTube videos where I don't need to do it with my own family, you know? But it comes out that way sometimes, where my kids tell me something, I'll kind of argue a counterpoint, right? Same thing with my wife. Like, we do it back and forth. I'll say something, she'll be like, oh, well, what about this? Or what about that? You know, that sort of thing. And I do the same thing to her. And the thing that drives me the most insane is when the kids do it to us. But like I said, we're teaching them that. We're teaching them that behavior. I think a lot of people do that. A lot of times you see parents like flipping out on their kids, and a lot of times it's like the stuff the kid is doing to really get under their skin is learned behavior. It's not like they've learned to interact, especially with you, in that manner. Because, and I'm not saying kids can't be influenced by their peers and things like that, but definitely, especially when they are younger, I say, 12 and under, they're influenced greatly by their parents. Like, that is their example of how to interact with the world. So if you're constantly challenging them or challenging other people around you, or they see that back and forth, they think that's how you interact. That's how you interact with people. And the thing is you get into it with them because it's like, well, look, that's different. That's when you see your mom and I having a disagreement, that doesn't mean it's okay for you, because we are peers, you know. My wife and I are peers, and so our disagreements are kind of on a different playing field, you know what I mean? I do want to teach my kids to not just accept everything people say. However, there is an issue of learning how to respect and take into account the things that your parents say, as long as it's something just. I mean, you don't want to, if you're teaching this something that's unjust, that's a different story, but that's just bad parenting on your part if you're doing that. If you're teaching your kids falsehoods and shitty things, that's kind of on you for being a shitty parent. But in general, if you are a person who has your kids' best interest at heart, you know, and kids know that. Kids can feel when, you know, they know their parents don't want any harm to come to them. That they should kind of respect that person and respect what they say to do and things like that, because for the most part, you're just looking out for them, or you're teaching them a lesson. And especially around that age, 9, 10, 11 years old, they start getting to where they challenge their parents. And that's a natural thing. But what I'm talking about here is where they're learning the challenging techniques from their parents, and that, they're taking on attributes. It's like anything. Most people that have a problem with the way someone else is being or acting or portraying themselves or whatever, it's an insecurity about how they feel about themselves, things that they don't like within themselves. That is psychology 101, dude. Like, you will pick out things in other people that you dislike that are things that you do. I mean, it's crazy. So that's all I'm kind of getting at here, is like, just, I'm not saying I'm any kind of expert whatsoever. But I've been in therapy and I've talked with counselors and whatnot about this sort of thing, and they pretty unanimously agree that that's the case. Like, your children learn that disrespect that they're giving you, but it's they think that they can act the same way towards you as you act when you are talking to them, or you act when you're talking to a significant other or whatever. So that's just something I've learned through time, and that I still struggle with really bad. I mean, really bad. And it has a lot to do with how I was raised and stuff, like, how my dad talked to me and stuff, and a lot of times we become our parents inadvertently, and it's like the things that I didn't like about the way my parents talk to me sometimes, I find myself doing that to my kids, and I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to do that. But I find myself doing it, and the thing that sucks about it is that the kids then learn that behavior too, just as I learned it from my parents. So the only way to nip that in the bud, or change that family trajectory, is to recognize it. And I'm not saying I'm mastered that. In fact, I'm saying quite the opposite. It's something I really need to work on. And I guess that's kind of why I'm stating it here kind of publicly, is so that it can't just be this, this thing in my head where it's like, man, I need to work on that, and I never get around to it. I just want to be honest and out there about it, so that, I hold myself more accountable this way. It's just like if I have a big goal I want to accomplish, I'll usually announce it to a lot of people, so that, I have less chances of backing out of doing it. I have more people kind of holding me accountable, or making me hold myself accountable. So, yeah, man, this is something I struggle with in parenting. Like, I got to get rid of that. And like I said, it's a learned behavior. I learned it from my parents, and now I'm teaching it to my kids. Not cool. But I've noticed that a lot of the things that I don't like in my kids' behavior is straight out of my toolbox. They're using my tools against me. So I'd love to hear other people's experiences with this. Like I said, I'm not trying to teach anybody any lessons. I'm basically trying to be a little introspective here, and just put it out there that, like, I struggle with these things, and it's something I really need to work on. And just to kind of put it out there so that other people can be introspective too, I guess, or let me know if they kind of go through the same things with their kids. Do they recognize that their kids are acting like them? When they dislike what their kids are doing, a lot of times it's what they've taught them to do. Anyway, that's it. That's the podcast/video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Share it if you found it valuable. You think other people might find it valuable. Like it. Really helps the video podcast reach more people. Rate the podcast if you would, 5 stars. It really helps me get out there and have a further reach. And subscribe for more, because this is what I do daily. I try to put out a new podcast, a new video every single day. If that's something you're down for, subscribe for more. It could be anything. Every day is a different subject. It's whatever I feel like talking about that day. So if you're into that sort of thing, stick around. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, I did want to say, too, that I have another podcast that I'm starting this evening with my good friend Jesse Cole. We recently collaborated. Basically, I had him on my podcast to interview him about his life and things and his goals and stuff like that. And we just really clicked. And we decided, you know what, we're going to make a podcast together where we come together, once a week or something, chat for half an hour about, positive stuff. We're trying to keep it positive, keep it, we want to give people tools, man. And it's not like we're way ahead of the game or anything. We just have our perspectives on, achieving goals and fitness and mental health. And, dude, we're going to talk about everything. Basically, it's just going to be two friends talking about everything from, fitness to psychology to addiction and recovery to, entertainment news. We'll probably talk about movies and stuff. Who knows? So if you are interested at all, please go search The Long Lost Brothers. Just type in Long Lost Brothers in your podcast app of choice and subscribe. Check us out. Our first podcast will be up this evening. So, all right. Listening. See you again tomorrow.